The AP Calculus AB exam is 8 months worth of information, all crammed into 3 hours and 15 minutes. Whether your test is months away or tomorrow morning, this video will speed run through every major concept on the AP test. We're going to cover every single concept tested on the AP exam. That includes limits, derivatives, integration, FTC, and all the applications. By the end of this, you'll have the full picture. Let's go. Limits are where all of calculus starts. A limit asks one simple question. As x gets closer and closer to some value, what does the function approach? Take this function on screen. It's undefined at x equals 1. There's a hole there. But as x creeps toward 1 from both sides, the y values get closer and closer to 2. That's the limit. The limit is 2, even though the function never actually reaches it there. On the exam, limits will show up in 3 different ways: direct substitution, factoring, and one-sided limits. Direct substitution is the easiest. You just plug in the value. Like if you have the limit as x approaches 3 of x squared plus 2x. You just plug in 3, which gets you 9 plus 6, or 15. But sometimes when you plug in, you get 0 over 0. That's called an indeterminate form, and you can't stop there. You need to factor and cancel. Take the limit as x approaches 2 of x squared minus 4, all over x minus 2. Factor the top into x plus 2 times x minus 2. The x minus 2 cancels. Now you just plug in 2 and get 4. Sometimes a function approaches a different value depending on which side you come from. If the left-hand limit and the right-hand limit don't match, the overall limit does not exist. You'll write dne. When x is flying toward infinity, you only care about the biggest exponents. Take 3x squared plus 1 all over 5x squared. Ignore everything except the 3x squared on top and the 5x squared on bottom. Those cancel down to just 3 over 5. That's your limit. The main part of calculus is the derivative. This is the biggest section on the exam. But once you get what a derivative actually represents, the rules are just memorization. A derivative measures the instantaneous rate of change of a function. On a graph, it's the slope of the tangent line at any given point. As that tangent line slides along the curve, the slope keeps changing, and that's what the derivative tracks. The derivative is able to be formally defined as a limit. The limit as h approaches 0 of f of x plus h minus f of x all over h. Okay, here is every derivative rule. Power rule. This is the one you'll use constantly. Bring the exponent down front, then subtract 1 from the exponent. So x to the 5th becomes 5x to the 4th. Constant rule. The derivative of any constant is just 0. The derivative of 7 is 0. Sum and difference rule. If you have terms being added or subtracted, treat each term separately. Product rule. When 2 functions are multiplied together, it's the first function times the derivative of the second plus the second function times the derivative of the first. Quotient rule. Similar to the product rule, but flip the sign and square the denominator. Trig derivatives. Just memorize these. Sine becomes cosine. Cosine becomes negative sine. Tangent becomes secant squared. Chain rule. This is the one that trips people up most. It's for functions inside other functions. You take the derivative of the outside, leave the inside alone, then multiply by the derivative of the inside. So, the derivative of sine of x squared is cosine of x squared times 2x. Think of it like peeling an onion, starting with the outside first and then the inside. Exponentials and logs. The derivative of e to the x is just e to the x, and the derivative of natural log of x is 1 over x. Implicit differentiation. This comes up when you can't isolate y. You differentiate both sides with respect to x, and every time you hit a y term, you multiply by dy dx. So, for x squared plus y squared equals 25. You get 2x plus 2y times dy over dx is equal to 0. Solve for dy dx and you get negative x over y. If derivatives are about breaking things down, integration is about building them back up. The integral finds the area under a curve between 2 points. So something like the integral from 1 to 3 of x squared. That's asking for the total area sitting underneath that curve. We can approximate that area using Riemann sums. You chop the region into a bunch of rectangles, each with width delta x and height equal to the function value at that point. And you add them all up. As the rectangles get thinner and thinner, the approximation gets more and more exact. And in the limit, that sum becomes the integral. But we don't compute that limit every time. We use antiderivatives instead. Power rule for integrals. Add 1 to the exponent, then divide by the new exponent. So the integral of x cubed is x to the 4th over 4. If the integral has no bounds, do not forget the plus c at the end. The common integrals that you should memorize are the integral of e to the x is e to the x plus c. The integral of 1 over x is the natural log of the absolute value of x plus c. The integral of cosine is sine plus c. The integral of sine is negative cosine plus c. These are simply the reverses of their derivatives. Now, u-substitution. This is the chain rule, but in reverse. When you see a composite function inside an integral, u-sub is your move. Take the integral of 2x times cosine of x squared. Let u equal x squared. Then du is 2x dx. And look, that 2x dx is already sitting right there in the integral. Substitute it all in, and you get the integral of cosine of u, which is just sine of u plus c. Swap back and you get sine of x squared plus c. For integrals with actual bounds, the answer is a number, not a function. Find the antiderivative, plug in the top bound, plug in the bottom bound, subtract. So the integral from 1 to 3 of x squared gives you x cubed over 3, evaluated from 1 to 3. Plug in the bounds and solve. Here it is 26 over 3. The Fundamental Theorem of Calculus. This is the most important idea in the entire course. It's what connects derivatives and integrals, which on the surface look like completely separate things. Part 1. If you define a function as a definite integral with a variable upper bound, its derivative is just the integrand evaluated at that upper bound. So if f of x equals the integral from a to x of f of t dt, then f prime of x is just f of x. Part 2. To evaluate a definite integral, find the antiderivative and subtract. The integral from a to b of f of x equals f of b minus f of a. Applications. The applications are where the exam gets hard, and no 10-minute video could cover all of that. 3 big ones: related rates, optimization, and area between curves. Related rates. These problems give you how fast one thing is changing and ask how fast something else is changing. Both variables are functions of time. With optimization, you'll need to find the maximum or minimum of something, but you'll always follow the same 3 steps. Step 1. Write the function you're trying to optimize. Step 2. Take the derivative and set it equal to 0. Those are your critical points. Step 3. Use the first or second derivative test to confirm whether it's a max or a min. If f double prime is negative at that point, it's a max. If it's positive, it's a minimum. Area between curves. You've got 2 functions, one on top, one on bottom, and you want the area of the region between them. The formula is the integral from a to b of the top function minus the bottom function. For example, if the top curve is x plus 2 and the bottom is x squared, you integrate x plus 2 minus x squared between the intersection points. That's all of AP Calc AB. For a deeper review, make sure to check out my other videos.